To order. First off, I just need to get a motion to allow Linda to participate via phone. Thank you, Junior. Can I get a second? Thank you, Betty. All those in favor of allowing Linda to participate, please state aye. Aye. Opposed? Welcome, Member Daly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, our first resolution to talk about is going to be a substitute resolution for a resolution that was passed 2 weeks ago. It's the FY 2022 Health Insurance Premiums Resolution. So is Shauna going to talk about that? Okay.
You want to get a motion in a second?
Oh,
on the
yes,
floor.
thank you. Thank you, Steve. Second. Junior, thank you.
And Shauna's going to talk directly into the microphone so everybody can hear, especially those watching the live stream.
Is that better? Is that all right? Okay.
But yeah, you should be fine.
Okay. Sorry. Get the right packet here. Okay. So what you have in your packet should mirror what was in the same concept, if you will, as to what was in the packet in terms of the charts for the meeting that was held on the 27th. So same scenario in terms of what the different columns and everything mean. But what we did was we went in and took a look at each tier within each of the two plans and evaluated a way that we could offset some of the increase that the employees were going to see that was voted on a few weeks ago. So in doing the analysis and then in talking with the chairman, we identified that we would structure it in terms of a subsidy, if you will. So the employee share, so that way the unit cost would not change and the employee health fund would still receive the same amount of revenue because we wanted to make sure that we were still putting the right amount of revenue into the fund to cover our costs. So the chart that is in your packet still has the same unit cost, but you'll see in the blue section that there's another column added at the end that says subsidy. So the unit cost and the employer contribution is unchanged, but the employee contribution has been reduced. For single coverage, there's no reduction because that coverage was like $2 per pay period on the PPO plan for single coverage. So there was, it's only a 2% increase. So there's no subsidy there. For employee plus one on the PPO plan, we're recommending a 35% subsidy. So what that does is that lowers the employee plus one premium by $25 per pay period for the employee. It lowers the increase amount by $25 and essentially results in a 9.8% premium increase for those employees on that segment of the plan. Same situation for family coverage, only the subsidy will be 75%, and that's because as we adjusted the tiers within the unit cost, they were more aligned because there's more dependence on family coverage. Therefore, the subsidy needed to be greater to do that offset. So that results in a 18% premium increase for employees with family coverage or $53 per pay period. And previously, what was previously discussed was a $200 per pay period increase for that group for the employees. So that lowers it from $213 to $53. So it's, I think, more manageable for our employees. For the qualified high deductible plan, same scenario with the employee coverage. Those premiums were going up $14.51 per pay period. And so we are not recommending a subsidy for that premium level. For employee plus one on the qualified high deductible plan, again, we're recommending 35%, which that lowers that by $35 per month, or will be a $33 per pay period increase to those employees on that tier. And then family coverage for the qualified high deductible plan will have a 75% subsidy as well. So that per pay period increase will be just under $37 per month. And what was previously discussed was $148 per pay period. So we lowered that from $148 down to $37 per pay period. And so then what that means is when we establish those premiums, we'll still have the same amount of funding going into the fund. So there will be no net change to the fund balance or anything like that. But it just for this year kind of eases everyone into the premium restructuring that we had talked about. So I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has them.
Thank you for that. Could you just briefly maybe tell everybody how the premiums were set, like what brought us to the exponential raise in the premiums, or what just brought the premiums up to begin with?
Sure. So I think real quick, big picture, back in 2019, when we went out for bid for the health plan components for our 5-year contracts, we had mentioned at that time in working with our actuary and our consultant that we really had kind of a two-pronged problem, if you will, where we needed to look at how we were doing the cost sharing in terms of plan design, and then also look at the premium structure. So we went ahead and adjusted the plan design as it needed to be, and I think we're already seeing the savings from that as you look at the budget. And so this year we needed to address the premiums. And so what happened was we have 3 tiers of premiums. Obviously, we have employee, employee plus one, and family. Where the problem happened to be was the unit cost between employee plus one and family. It was the exact same unit cost. And so in working with our actuary, they said, your unit cost should not be the same if you have two people on the plan versus maybe 5 people on the plan, because obviously the claims are going to be higher. So we were not fully covering our costs. So what this did was this went in and we restructured so that employee plus one coverage unit cost was double what single was, and then family coverage was recommended to be, I think, 3.18 times of single coverage. And so when we realigned it, that's what gave that spread within the premium tier itself. So that's why the family coverage was even more hard hit than the other 2 tiers with the premium increase.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions or comments? And is it
I
also,
have a comment.
okay, Linda?
As I discussed with you and others, I am willing to support this, but I want to have a resolution that we are going to be sending county employees a statement of what we're spending to provide benefits to them.
Thank you. Actually, I have a plan during miscellaneous. We'll bring that back up at that point, if that's okay.
You'll bring it up at the next operations meeting?
No, I'll bring it up at the end of this meeting.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I just also wanted to clarify, is it true also that our premiums have been held kind of low over the last few years as well? So we're kind of making up some space that we had created by keeping our premiums under what the industry has been going towards?
Right, good point. So under PPACA, what seems like way back in the day now, when that first came out, we had to make sure that our premium increases did not exceed a 5% increase every year, which basically threw us into a structural deficit situation where our revenues were not covering our expenses, because if we were to raise the premiums more than 5%, then we were going to be subject to at least anywhere from $1 million to $2 million in penalties potentially each year that we were above that amount. And so not only did we have to restructure, but now we're kind of playing catch up and covering our actual costs of the plan, because obviously our health plan trend was 10-15%, and our premiums were only going up 5% to cover that. So it was really kind of a double whammy, if you will, in terms of how we ended up here.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other comments? I just want to say, before we vote on this, that I do, for any employees who are in the room or any employees who are watching, I do want to apologize that this came out of committee the way that it did. I realized shortly after the vote that it was the wrong vote, and I will do better I promise. And I apologize for any anxiety that this may have caused you or your families. So we will do better. We do have a plan to address premiums long-term also. So we'll be looking at other options and pursue those as well. So with that, all those in favor of the substitute resolution or this resolution to substitute the other, please state aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries unanimously. The next resolution is for a civil litigation settlement. Could I get a motion to put that on the floor, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Betty. Could I get a second? Linda?
Second.
Thank you. Who's going to handle the litigation? Go ahead.
This is a piece of litigation that's been pending for a while, and we've come to a resolution. The amount on the resolution, $26,676.53, is broken down into a few component parts that thought we were going to be under the $20,000 threshold, but in aggregate, it's a little bit over. So that's why this is coming to County Ops and then County Board tonight for resolution. It's basically backing up some fees in the clerk's office. So it's a refund of some monies, about $18,000, and then you've got some nominal attorney fees. So that's what this is comprised of. That's why it's coming a little bit later to this committee. So any questions, happy to answer them, or if we need to go into a closed session, if you have specific questions, we can do that as well. But that's a brief overview of the $26,000 and change that's on this resolution.
Any questions on this? Go ahead, Steve.
I have a general question. I think it's appropriate here is, have we addressed the process or situation that created this, so moving forward, we understand why this happened, and moving forward, we should not get into this situation again, just a confidence?
Definitely, and good question. Yes, it will be clear that it was no fault of the clerk's office, actually. These were filing fees paid by attorneys. They weren't even solicited by the clerk. The attorneys would mail in checks with motions, and down the road there was a court case that basically said those fees shouldn't be charged. So it was definitely not knowing. It was a new piece of case law that determined those shouldn't be charged anymore, and all charges have ceased. Even the times where we can charge those fees, they're such a small amount of the time that the clerk's office has just decided not to charge those fees at all, so there's no confusion. So definitely remedied, and it wasn't an oversight or any carelessness on the part of the clerk. That it was just a court ruling that came down that meant we had to stop charging those fees. So, yep. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Linda, do you have any questions on this? Linda?
I don't have any questions, but thank you for asking.
Okay. We thought we lost you.
You did, just for a moment.
All those in favor of the resolution, please state aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, resolution carries. Now it brings us to miscellaneous. Does anybody have anything for miscellaneous? I have one thing. As it's been well known, Linda has asked for resources to be used to create statements so that to give our employees a better idea of how much money we invest into them. So because it's going to take over 2 hours of resources, we just have to get consensus from the committee that to allow administration to take on this task. So I'm just looking for consensus. I would ask that Linda work with Shauna and Angela is what the statements are going to look like. Maybe have them out sometime in January. You can decide whether you want to do a projection, this is what this year's going to look like, or if you want to do, this is what 2021 look like. That's something you guys can work out, but I just need to get a consensus that it is okay for administration to work towards this statement. Is everybody okay with it? Yes. Sure. So we're looking to create a statement or a letter to send out to employees that it's a clear, something simple table to show them the amount of money that the county invests into them as far as benefits goes. Just so they have an idea of what their cost is and then how much we put in to having them as an employee. Sure, Steve.
And I'll, if I can, I'll add just some additional comments. I think it's a good thing many employers, private, governmental, do this type for employees, provide them a summary of their benefits, their salary, their FICA, all of the things that are accruing for benefits to them for current and retirement, along with medical coverage and all those programs. So I think it's a really good ask, and Linda has been asking, and I would recommend that this committee agree that, we ask administration to work a process, and if Linda would work with them on kind of making sure that the outcome is what we expect, I'd be in favor of this also.
And Linda, are you willing to be our person to work with Linda and Shauna on that? I'm sorry, Angela and Shauna.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you. She said absolutely. Linda's willing to work with them. So is it okay with everybody? Is everybody okay with that? Yes. And I know Kate, she's not here to vote, but I know she's told me that she would support that also. So, okay, I think that's all we need to do. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.